morning, everybody.
Good morning. Good morning.
Hey. All right. We're real excited to get things started with you today. Here we go. This is going to be a real fun one. Can't wait. So we'll dive right into it. As you all know, we're talking about energetic alignment and mindset, our weekly series. Tons of fun, looking to help everybody out, change the world, change your life, affect everyone in as many ways as possible. Put lots of love and kindness into the world, and we will get that back in abundance. Super fun. So, little overview, real quick, go through it. My name is Zach. This is Monique.
Hello.
I've been a real estate investor for 10 years, but I'm here because I've been on a mindset journey for 40 years right now. And so let's just always try and strive to be a little bit more, my mindset.
And I am an energy healer, and I have been doing energy healing this is my 7th year, and I was in grad school for public health behavioral sciences. I worked in corporate for a while, was very depressed, had a bunch of chronic issues, and quit, entered this space, healed my body, changed my life, met Zach, and
So lucky.
now
I am.
Here we are. And so we want to start this series. And do you want to give a quick overview of just what we've talked about so far? And then today we're going to do some hot seat coaching.
Yep, hot seat coaching today. So just so you know, we're going to go a little fast at times, but there's a replay, so don't worry. It's going to be sent out to everyone that's on this. Just remember that energy is all around us, kind of like the Love Actually movie. Love is all around, energy is all around, same type of thing. And so just know that, accept that, learn that, work with that. That is all that we are working to do here so that we can change how you think about things and what you attract in the life. Remember our mantra of energy before action. You got to come from a clear space when you're moving into whatever you're trying to do for the day. So that way we can attract awesomeness through a nice clear head and with our vision in mind of how we want to live, how we want to serve, how we want to show up in that higher purpose in this world. So super fun stuff. So yeah, just quick, everyone wants to know how to work with us, you know, and there's lots of one-on-one opportunities that many of you have already taken advantage of. Deals. There's going to be tons of fun deals in 2023. Creative finance. If you don't know about that, oh my gosh, I could talk your ear out about that for days and months and years. So let's move that to a different topic. This is all just about mindset and energy. So at this point, we've had 6 weeks of doing stuff, sharing stuff with you guys. So this one, the fun time here is that we're going to do some hot seat coaching where we can pull someone up, talk with them. We can explore their life. Ask us any questions they want. We're real excited for that. Super fun. Any questions that you want. So please, whoever wants to raise your hand with things, we'll get into that. So I'm just going to go over a couple of the things that we've talked about throughout the weeks. Maybe it'll bring things to top of mind that you might want to ask questions about, or that something is personal in your life that you'd like to explore and dive a little deeper. But so through these 6 weeks, we've gone over an overview of what energetics are and what the expectations we can get from this course, this class, this webinar, this scratching of the surface, because we have mapped out months of other things to talk about, new topics to talk about. So, I mean, that's even just before we repeat anything, but yeah, we have months. You can imagine if I could talk your face off about real estate for years, she could talk your face off about energetic alignment for years too. That's the fun of us both coming together on this. So super exciting. So we've talked about that. We've talked about limiting beliefs and self-awareness, how important that is, because it all starts with self-awareness. If you're not there, then you can't change how you're thinking. You have to first become aware of what's going on around you. And maybe there's limiting beliefs. Maybe there's some trauma. We all have them, maybe. So affirmations, how we can use them, how to write them, when to use them, best way to program our brain, the different states of the brain that you'd want to program in which ones you wouldn't want to as much, but all of them are great for just more when we're trying to align with our future. So, and then we moved into the New Year's goals and aligning ourselves to those goals. For instance, like my word of the year, I just came up with it last night because I've got it on my board over here. Like, oh, word of the year. What's that going to be? To me, it's who. If you've ever heard of the book, Who Not How, man, I am a learn every darn thing and get a degree in it. So I've got a piece of paper that says I've learned that thing. And so that was my how.
Go get a degree in it.
Yeah, go get a degree in it. Or even worse, cram it all in half the time, because that's what I would do anyway. So the year is who, not how, to get something done. Get the right person in place, ask the right person who's already years ahead of you so that you don't have to take years to figure things out just to get to your first stumbling block of what I should change. Holy smokes. Who, not how. That's my word of the year. What's your word of the year, babe?
Enjoy.
Enjoy.
Enjoy life now.
So she tends, her words, not mine, tends to
on the
be
serious side.
a little bit more serious.
And, Courtney, I see your comment. This is your first video, so welcome. We're so happy to have you live. And also, if you guys have questions about anything going on in your life, like someone wrote in that I was going to answer a question for. So if you have questions about anything going on in your life that you feel like pertains to energetic alignment, mindset, your energy field, your emotions, your thoughts, anything, then please bring them. So let us support you today. And yeah. Oh, and your word is breakthrough. That's wonderful. Yeah. I tend to err on the more serious side. I'm a Capricorn and we have serious tendencies, and I just grew up in an environment where I'm a twin and we basically raised ourselves. My parents got divorced very young and they were still finding themselves. And so we matured very early in life, AKA we had a lot of childhood trauma. And so we had to grow up really fast. And so this year I just found out I'm pregnant. And so I want to learn to enjoy life more and before the baby comes, because Zach helps me be more playful, and sometimes it can be annoying at times, if I'm being honest. So I'm trying to just enjoy life now. I have it written everywhere. So yeah, if you haven't thought of a word, I like words versus resolutions, because resolutions, with a resolution, you're changing a habit, and we can beat ourselves up if we don't change that habit immediately, right? If we fall back on a couple days and then we fall out of sync, and I hope it's yours too, Zach. I have a feeling it's Zach's. So
Thanks, Nathan. Much love, buddy.
And so with a word, though, it's just a reminder. It's a reminder that this is the essence in which I want to approach life with throughout this year. And through approaching life through this essence, then that which I desire from life will find me. Because ultimately, I know I talked about this in the New Year's goals video that was sent out week 4. And so that was just me, a video of just me that we sent out. It wasn't live. But I know I talked about this then, but ultimately we want something because of how it's going to make us feel. And then in order for us to get that thing, we have to embody different parts of ourself more so than others. So for an example, if you're an angrier person, or you're like a short-tempered person, but you want more loving relationships in your life, what do you have to embody more of? Probably love, probably patience and understanding and compassion. So for me, with what I want out of life, it's like, I really just want all of these things so I can enjoy life more. So why am I not doing it now? And that's kind of the thought process behind how I choose a word. And I think it's wonderful. I've been doing it for years. I have introduced Zach to the process. And so if you guys want to choose a word, then it's just fun. Write it somewhere you can see it every day. And it's just a little like a loving nudge every day of just like, hey, am I in alignment with this today? How can I be in more alignment with this today? And how can I embody more of this today? I see, John, your word is positive, or your word would have been positive. It can still be positive. Make it positive today. And so yeah, it's just, okay, so how can I see this through a more positive lens? How can I approach this through a more positive attitude? And so it's just something that I really, really love. Joy, that's a beautiful one. And And I think that it is something that when we just focus on, like what we focus on, our energy is going to move towards. So what you're focusing on, if you're just focusing on this word, your energy will eventually move in the direction of that word. And so it's just a beautiful way to be a little more gentle on yourself if you tend to err on the critical side, if you don't really reach your goals as quickly as you think you should, or in the time frame that you think that you should have achieved them. A word just kind of, it helps to have you embody that. It's more of the feminine approach. The masculine is the do. The feminine is the be. And we all have feminine and masculine energies.
That's why it's funny. Yeah, 2017, I remember that's the last year I picked a word, and that was patience. And holy smokes, I got a lot of patience out of that year because of it. So I think it was wonderful. And I was stressing out, what's the word? Overthinker in me is like, what the heck is the word? Let me analyze all the words. Let me take a day, write down all the words, and then rate them from like 1 to 100. Give me a freaking break, right? No, just like whatever comes to you, and that's why I've just been waiting. And I found myself reading something and just trying to figure something out. And I'm like, no more figuring out, Zach. It is time now to just find someone who already has that answer. You have this book, you understand the concept. How come you will not just accept that? And so I'm like, there it is. There's my word, who, all over the place, because it's not just who in business. It's also like who I want to be around in life, who I want in my life, and who am I doing this for? I'm doing this so I have that time freedom to be with those people that I love at the end of the day. So who is very encompassing for me. It landed perfectly. And I got it while I was running last night, my active meditation, where my conscious mind stops and my subconscious mind can just process things, and then bleh, comes out at the top while I'm running. And I'll forget as I'm going around what I'm thinking about, but then the good stuff will percolate to the top at the end of the day. So yeah, I encourage you to do that. I think that is going to be a new process that I'm just going to use every year, because what the heck, it just makes your life better. If average age is 78 or whatever, I want to live to be 150. So I've got 110 more years of words that I could incorporate into my life. How wonderful would that be?
120 is biologically what we are capable of on average.
I don't know. I was just reading last night. There's this guy that's doing some funky studies where he's a 40-year-old person, but he has the lungs of an 18-year-old, the heart of a 27-year-old, because he's doing some funky stuff, whatever. Who knows what humans are going to come up with in the future? Something
though that this is a little topic, but I think it's really interesting, and it came up before this call, so I do just want to say it is, our cells we have chemical receptors. So that's like if we take medicine or we take supplements, that's a chemical receptor. Our cells are responding to that substance, but our cells actually have stronger electromagnetic receptors. So what does this mean? It means that every cell in our body, although yes, we respond to medicines and drugs and supplements and the food that we eat, we respond more so to the thoughts that we think and the emotions that we feel. So this is really groundbreaking. And I just learned this like 2 weeks ago, that our cells have these electromagnetic receptors. We have more of them than we have chemical receptors. So we can use our thoughts and in conjunction with our feelings, which is an intro to manifestation, which we'll talk about towards the end of this if we have time. Otherwise, it'll be pushed to next week, to change not our genetic makeup, but the genetic expression, because our genes load the gun and then our environment pulls the trigger. So if the environment that we're putting our genes in is one of positive thinking, accepting ourselves, loving the people around us, solution seeking versus problem seeking, and just feeling grateful on a daily basis, more so than holding on to anger or resentment or guilt or shame or anything like that, then we literally can heal our bodies through that. And because our bodies are electromagnetic, then what we put out into the universe on an energetic level is at a higher vibrating frequency. Therefore, the experiences that we can attract back to us will be a higher vibrating frequency experience. And so just by using our thoughts and our emotions in as little, some people suggest it's as little as 17 seconds, you just hold on to a thought because then that generates another thought. But in as little as like 2 minutes a day, you can start seeing these changes. And then you just start, eventually you begin to think positively, you begin to feel more positively, and or you just feel more accepting. I don't like to actually use the term positively because we get into the positivity paradox, which I talked about in one of the first calls, where people think they have to be positive and they have to think happy thoughts. And if they're not, something's wrong with them. And it can actually cause a stress response. But so we think more accepting thoughts, and then our body just starts putting out a higher vibrating electromagnetic frequency. So it's really, really cool. And like, we have all of this just accessible within us, but we're just not really taught how to unleash it. So we're going to go into that with the Intro to Manifestation series that we have planned. But that also leads me into a couple other things that we had talked about before, is the ego and its conditioning. Then we did a class about forgiveness. But I want to answer this question that someone had asked. And if you guys have any comments or questions that you want to ask, just feel free to raise your hand so we can actually do some hot seat coaching. Hot seat coaching means I'll tune into your energy and we'll see what comes up. And Zach's pretty intuitive as well. He's been working his intuitive muscle too, but I can tune into your energy. We can see what's coming up for you, see what the bigger message is for the group, and then any specific steps you're being asked to take. So someone wrote in and asked, said that they are waking up not feeling very great, feeling a little heavy, putting some pressure on themselves to perform. In theory, they knew why that was happening, but tried meditating, visualization, affirmations, reading, and just like nothing was working. There's actually a reason for this. And it's because when we are in a lower state, when we are in, like, we wake up, we've all woken up and we just have off days. You're just like, gosh, I just am not feeling today. Or you wake up and you're a little angry, or you're feeling something. It's just coming up. You're not really quite sure where it's coming from, but we know that it's there. So the one thing that we try to do, that I will encourage you not to, is we try to think about, why is this here? Where is this coming from? And what that does is it takes the physical somatic, soma meaning in the body, somatic experience. It takes that and it turns it into a cerebral experience, a mental experience. And we can't feel what the body wants to feel by thinking about it. Okay. And so when we start thinking, gosh, why do I feel this way? Or what's wrong with me? Gosh, I will get used to this freaking microphone by the end of the series. When we start thinking all of these things and we start saying to ourselves, well, what happened? Like, what happened yesterday? Did something happen? Did I eat something before bed and I just woke up feeling a little off? Or am I nervous about something? What we're doing is we're on an energetic level, we're essentially like zipping up our energy. So it's pushed up into our upper energy centers, which we're going to talk about energy centers in about a month and a half. And we're taking our energy away from our body. We need our energy in our body so that the emotional energy can get processed. Because when the energy in our body isn't as readily available because we're thinking so much and we're placing so much energy in our upper energy centers, then the emotional energy doesn't have an opportunity to run its course and it becomes repressed. And we switch on our thinking brain, and we go from a feeling experience to a thinking experience. And those are two separate things. So then we tend to think, okay, if I thought of what I could do to get out of this, like, what do I need to do to get out of this? Then we start thinking, maybe I should meditate. Maybe I should visualize. Maybe I should just sit in front of my computer and just wait for inspiration to spark. Maybe I should read that book. We're not connected to the emotional experience that the body is having anymore. Does that make sense? Instead, we are trying to outthink the body's experience. So we are essentially separating ourselves from our own emotional experience. And this happens in adults a lot because of multiple reasons, but some of them are because when you were kids, maybe you were upset and your parents were like, you need to calm down right now, or they felt uncomfortable when you were upset. So you never really got the opportunity to fulfill the full emotional experience that your body wanted to have. Your experience got cut short. Or there just wasn't a safe environment for you to feel your emotions. Maybe you grew up in a toxic environment, or maybe you just were told like, you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet before I give you something to cry about or something like that. Or maybe it's just you felt like like your parents were, maybe they were navigating some challenging times. This was my case. Maybe your parents were navigating challenging times. So whenever you were upset and then they got upset, you sucked up your emotional experience so you could take care of them. So you attuned your energy to them. And this is how codependency begins. So you can take care of them because you're like, well, if mommy and daddy don't feel good, then nothing's good. When I'm a 6-year-old kid, if my mom's mad, then my life isn't great. So I need to figure out a way to make my mom feel happier right now. Even if I'm upset, I need to pause this so I can take care of mom. And that's the process that happens. And so our body doesn't get an opportunity to fully express those emotions. And when this happens, those emotions get repressed. And I explain this to my clients as it's like laundry is getting packed in. We've all gone a while without doing laundry, haven't we, honey?
Nope. Nope.
And so
Just burn it and buy new ones.
And so what happens when we do that, we start like, I mean, I used to do this in college, but we push down, just you start pushing down clothes more and more. You're like, I can fit more in here. I know I can. Or trash. Like you're trying to shove as much trash as you can in the trash can before trash day. And you're just shoving it down and shoving it down. So when you try to pull the trash bag out, you're like, oh my gosh, this thing is stuck. I cannot get out. There's so much stuff in here. It's kind of the same experience with your body. So going back to the laundry example, you might start taking a couple, you're like, oh, this is easily just one load of laundry until you get down to the washer, and you start unloading it and you realize like, oh my gosh, how many pairs of pants did I put in here? How many t-shirts did I put in here? Do I have this many socks? And you just like start throwing all of this in the washer, and it's just more and more and more. You're like, this is going to take at least 2 loads of laundry. Like, how long has it been since I've washed laundry? And so
that's your emotional laundry that you've just stuffed into
laundry,
yourself at that
yes.
point. And you're like, I'll deal with this later. And then you're like, oh my gosh, now it's way too big for me to deal with this right now. So I'll just tuck it around for next week. And then just never really get around to doing your emotional laundry.
And so what happens at on a somatic level, remember in the body. So in the body, what happens is, so as you learn these experiences when you're younger, and you learn like, oh, I have to be good for mom, or I have to be positive, or I have to be the one that helps everybody else feel better, codependency, people pleasing. What we do then is we start numbing out our emotional experience, our own emotional experience. And we start thinking about, well, what can I do to make this better? So then we're separating ourselves from our emotional experience.
So you don't want me to think about it? I'm a thinker. Like literally, that's what I know how to do to fix anything is I'm going to think about it.
I know.
Holy smokes. Let's cut to the chase. How do I do it? I'm already anxious. My laundry's getting bigger right now. Like, how do I fix this?
And the reason that this doesn't work is because you cannot out logic your feelings. They're 2 completely different things.
Emotions and logic are
do
completely
not, that's oil and water.
Yeah.
And so
I know that.
So when you find yourself in this space of trying to figure it out, stop trying to figure it out. All you can do is just be with that experience. And for some people, this might feel very, very uncomfortable because maybe you've never been with your emotions before, and that's totally fine.
And these are probably not great emotions we're feeling to begin with. If it was a happy emotion, I would be with that all day, right? But it's not.
Yeah.
Really, really, really dirty, muddy laundry emotion.
Yeah. And so one of the first things that you can do if you have a hard time, like being with your emotions, if that feels scary to you, like, oh gosh, well, I don't know if I want to acknowledge this because then I feel like I'm going to get stuck in it. One, realize you're already stuck in it.
Okay.
If you're not feeling it, you're stuck in it. You're actually feeling it every single day. And it is becoming your emotional baseline. If it is a predominant emotion that's just circulating in your system, and that is then outputting your energetic frequency at the vibrational level of that emotion.
You can
Okay.
imagine, I can imagine that, yeah, I'm feeling this emotion. I'm not feeling great. I try to power through it, repress it, go out into the world and be like, oh, I'm not sad. I'm not depressed, but you look sad. You look droopy all around. Your energy is like that. You attract other people because of that. You say, oh, let me try and do this thing. Let me go have a good time with my
And then you
friends.
take
And like,
action,
yeah,
and you send that out of that emotional equivalent.
with your dirty laundry on your back in a
Mhm.
little bindle, and it's just you bring that all with you. And so,
Mhm.
yeah, my goodness, I
And
get that.
And one thing that we'll talk about more with manifestation, but I want you to know it's not the emotion that manifests a negative or positive experience. It's the action that we take because of the emotion that we're feeling. We've all made plans. I've talked about this before. We've all made plans when we're feeling really good. And then when the plans come around, if we're having a low day, we're like, oh crap, how do I get out of these plans? Because we do things differently depending on our emotional state. And so what you can do if you have a hard time feeling your emotions, then you don't necessarily need to feel them right away, but just acknowledge it. Okay, what am I feeling right now? I'm feeling tension in my chest. I'm feeling a heaviness in my gut. Get curious with your body. So I'm feeling this heaviness in my gut. Okay, are there any other sensations here? And you're tuning into the experience that your body is having. If it's the chest, oh, my chest feels kind of like it's closing in on itself, or my gut just feels like a little nauseous or queasy. And I feel uninspired. And so from there, what is the actual emotion that is there? Well, I'm feeling some fear in my gut. If there were an emotion here, it would be fear. And you can ask yourself, if there were an emotion here, what would that be? And so in the chest, it might be sadness. We hold a lot of grief and sadness and anger in our chest. And so, Gabby, to answer your question, we don't want to stay in the emotion. First, we want to acknowledge it. And if that's all you get to doing, if that's all you feel comfortable doing, wonderful. Stop there. Stop there. But you've acknowledged it. And what happens when we acknowledge something? We begin to release the energy of it, because all our body wants to do is to have these parts of ourselves that are holding on to the shame, holding on to the anger, holding on to the guilt, holding on to the hurt. They want to be acknowledged. They want they want you to recognize that they're still here and that there's still emotions here that want to be expressed. And so when you acknowledge that, okay, I'm feeling this heaviness in my chest, or I'm feeling this like heaviness in my gut, and it feels like fear, or it feels like sadness. And if that's all you feel safe doing, good, leave it at that. But then don't force yourself to hop into the next thing. We can't outthink our way from emotions. So what you can do then is just say, okay, if there was something that felt nourishing, if there was something that would support my body in this moment, what would that be? Maybe you'll be inspired to take a bath. Maybe you'll be inspired to take a walk. Maybe you'll want to have a conversation with someone. Do it. That is your body telling you, this is what I need to feel safe right now. So then you can do that thing. And that's how you get the momentum going, and you start clearing that energy so that you can get back into your normal state, the higher elevated state. Does that make sense? So Gabby, to your point, we're not staying there, but we are acknowledging it, and we're not forcing ourselves out of it. Because when we force ourselves out of it, all we're doing is we are putting our body in a state that doesn't feel safe. Like, how many of us feel really, really good and safe when someone is forcing us to do something? You're probably like, I'm really not sure. Maybe like you get really stiff armed and you're just like, I'm not really sure. Like, I'm thinking of like a kid jumping off a diving board. Like your friends are forcing you because they're sick of you saying you want to do it. So they're like forcing you to jump, and you're like getting all stiff armed, and you're like, okay, well, I'm not quite sure yet. You start having all of these regrets, and you're like, I don't know if this was the right decision. And so that's what happens with the body. It gets stiff, it gets tense. And then that tension gets stored in the body, and then the cycle will repeat itself. So we don't want to force ourselves out of anything, but we don't want to also stay in there and swim in it. So we acknowledge it, And then if that's the only thing you feel comfortable doing, then just ask, what does my body need to feel safe right now? Do that. And then I assure you that the energy will start to shift. You might feel a little bit better. And then you just slowly progress into your day. And that's when you then start your affirmation, start your visualization, do your meditation. When you've acknowledged and you started the facilitation of the release of the energy. Okay. Now, if you're someone that feels comfortable feeling your emotions, acknowledge that. And then you can even ask, like, okay, well, if we'll go with sadness. So if this sadness is here in my chest, well, do I feel like crying? Like, I kind of feel like I need to cry. So then what can you do? You can go turn on a really sad movie and cry your eyes out. You can start journaling around this sadness, like speaking to the sadness, and see what comes up and just start crying from there. I know for me, every time I talk to my sister and I'm feeling sad, I cry. Sometimes when I talk to him and I feel like sad, I cry. So me, like verbalizing my emotions helps me cry. And so from there, you can actually physically express the energy. Remember, we move energy 3 ways: breath, movement, and sound. So we can then physically start to express that energy. And from there, when that feels complete, then you ask, okay, how can I nourish myself right now? What does my body need to feel safe right now? And then from there, you begin moving on with your day. But build the momentum with what feels the safest in the moment. Don't try to force yourself to do something high vibe because you think that's what you're supposed to do to feel better. Because most of the time, it won't help you feel better. It'll make you feel worse because you know that you're supposed to feel better doing it and you're not.
So I'll just give an example myself. So just so you guys know that I'm not perfect. I'm not this happy ball of light all the time. I can pick on me and no one will mind that. So yesterday I wasn't feeling good. I'm coming back from this awesome conference. Ginny, we were both there. You want to be in these places where you've got lots that's going on, that's elevating you, and that it's normal what we're doing. Like in this, we're talking about energy. It's normal. It normalizes the fact that we should be thinking about those things. So you go to conferences so that you can normalize with other people and you want to be more. Well, coming back into a normal state of working here at home, it's like, oh my gosh, I've got so many things to do. I'm trying to get through this, and I'll put it even on my calendar. I'm like, oh my gosh, everything from yesterday that I wanted to get done, other things popped up. So my whole day shifts over a whole other day, anxiety. And then like, I've got more things from yesterday that were piling up, and we had another meeting. So many wonderful people are doing so many wonderful things. I'm like, oh my gosh, I couldn't even get done what I wanted to do yesterday. Such a small thinking, small, short focus type of thinking, but I didn't feel good about it. I felt less. I felt like I wasn't living in my highest and best self, and just overwhelmed from every little thing I had to do. And, I'm sure it came across to anyone that was around me where I'm just not feeling so good right now. So what I ended up having to do is not work through it because that wasn't working. I went up and I talked with her and I'm like, I'm not really feeling very good, this and that. And what might be coming up with it. And then I came back and I sat down. I'm like, no, like, I don't want to be doing this right now. My body wants to go run. I want to go to the gym. I want to get out, move that energy, but just, I could feel I wanted to run. And to me, that's my active meditation. It makes me feel good in my body, makes me feel good in my mind, allows all those things to process. So I went and I ran 5 miles and I feel great after that whole thing. It cleared things up for me. Today is a new day. Every new day is a new day. And it's like, all right, let me now I can get back into my head to think which things are important for me to do right now. It's not that I have to do all these things from yesterday and today and then the day before and all that and cram them all into one now because I'm falling behind. No, I just need to get in that space of comfort and happiness, and then everything will be easeful and I'll be able to prioritize. And I won't be thinking so with this muddy lens. Again, that energy before action. If I were just to continue taking energy in that state, everything that I would produce would be very subpar. So clear it, find what works for you. Yeah.
Mhm.
She gave some wonderful, good examples of one. Just find what works well for you and your body, and it'll
And-
make life easier.
Yeah, and I
Happier.
just want to acknowledge, Angel, I see your hand, and I will call on you next. Yes, and carrying on with that point, and Gabby asking a question. So even if the forcing is, let me meditate to see if I can stop this negative spiral. If that's truly what your body needs in that moment, do it. So we don't want to like let ourselves swim in the negativity, but we don't want to force ourselves out of it. We want to take a step. Like if you're in the deep end and you can't push yourself out of the pool, you're going to take the steps out of the pool. This is the same thing. It's just if you're in the deep end, first, you're going to have to swim over to the shallow end. They're going to have to step by step walk out of the pool. So the swimming over to the shallow end is getting familiar with what feels easier for me to do right now? What feels easier on my body? What feels like something that would be supportive for me? Because in the pool, you've made that decision. It's easier and more supportive for you to swim to the shallow end and step out of the pool than it is for you to pull yourself up out of the pool. So this is the same thing. It's just in regards to our emotions. So like Zach said, he got an urge to go running, and that's what he did. The other day, I was in my own little moment, and I just kept getting an urge to journal it out and just do a brain dump and just clear my head. So that's what I did, because I tried meditating and it did not work. I was just on a thought spiral of just like all of these things that I just couldn't get out of my head. And so I had to journal them out to actually get it out of my body. And just so I invite you to just take a moment to just tune in with yourself. And this is a practice. This is a practice. You might not get anything the first time you ask yourself, but trust that if you keep asking yourself, you will start to build this connection and strengthen it. But ultimately, it's just what feels the most nourishing right now. And if that's meditating, then try it for 5 minutes. And if that feels good, do it for 10. But don't force yourself to sit there for 20 minutes when you're trying to meditate and you're just like, you can't get out of your head and you can't really relax into the meditation. And one thing I want to say is, if you're someone that you wake up and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't have time for this. I need to hurry up and do this. I need to hurry up and do that. I want to have you reflect on this. Do you really not have time to shift your energy? Because shifting your energy can move mountains. But if you're acting from the space of anger or sadness or despair or resentment or jealousy or frustration or shame, do you think that you're going to get the same results back, the same outcome returned back to you as if you were acting from a space of even neutrality, satisfaction, acceptance, joy, love, gratitude? Probably not. So it's more so, I don't not have time for this. I have to make time for this, because I know that I can act my entire day in this space and it's not going to benefit me or the people I come into contact with. And sometimes if you don't have a lot of time, honestly, I keep a sweatshirt in my car and I'll just scream in it if I need to. It's a great way to move a lot of energy, just yelling, just guttural yelling. And it's a great way to move a lot of energy if you're just not sure what's coming up and you don't have a lot of time, but you just feel density. Yell into a sweatshirt, yell into a pillow, and move that energy and just shake it off, literally shake it off, and then start your day.
And you can
Sometimes just getting outside helps.
try all these different things, because you have to try, because you're very unique. So just try and find what works for you. And so, yeah, it can be any of these, but I mean, just having a list, all these things that this person had tried. And then also, the fact that you say coming from a state of neutrality or positivity or whichever, but not negativity when you're moving in towards something. You do not, remember, we don't want to do any affirmations when we're in a negative state. That's really, really bad.
First.
So yeah, trying to just affirmate your way out of a negative state will absolutely fail. So please stop thinking that that's possible. You need to come from a neutral state more, or a good elevated state, but at least a neutral state to bring you into a higher state. And it's best when it's subconscious. But I mean, even sometimes before I go on calls or before I'll go on a presentation that I'm giving to someone, I'll use it in that sense and be like, okay, I'm the power of my thoughts. Like, I'm in control of my thoughts, and then get into a couple more and be like, okay, here we go. Right. But I mean, if you try to do that when you're negative, you're like, oh, Well, it'll
Mhm.
just reinforce, and you're just scratching that scar a little bit deeper
Mhm.
in that spot. So
Yeah,
just
and when
don't.
you're
Just
just like
remember,
forcing
don't.
yourself to do something, like things feel easier when we're in a more positive mood. So that's when you get to get all of your stuff done. That's when you can really take a lot of action. It feels harder when we're not in a mood because we're meant to focus on ourselves in that moment. And I guarantee focusing on yourself will change. It will create a cascade of change. If you just focus on yourself for an hour, 2 hours, a half day, give it a time limit. If that's something, if you need that structure, give it a time limit. Like I'm giving myself an hour to just really go sit with this and go into it. But then after that, I'm going to take some action to help move more of this energy. And that might be going to the gym. It might be going on a walk. And Jenny, you saying I need to just go get some exercise to move out of my maze. Yeah, just really start moving. Once you start moving, your body's like, oh, this feels so good.
And
Like,
it's
oh
a
my
different
gosh.
environment that you're going to move into,
It is
right? So you're not going to
Yeah.
associate the wherever you were before with the feelings you were feeling before. You're going to
Mhm.
have a new environment, so you'll have new stimuli. So you've got a new memory that you're creating in that moment.
Mhm.
So
Yep.
you can move towards a good one.
And your body is remembering, like, oh yeah, this helped. This
And-
helped.
And
So
you know
next time.
what I've found in anything is just having an accountability buddy. Like you go to the gym, it's like, all right, we're hitting the gym at this time, so you're going to show up more for it. Or like, hey, I really want to go right now. Are you going to go? The same goes for anything that you're trying to do, where you're trying to go really long, which is for the rest of
Or
your
honestly,
life.
social media
Is
is a great account.
Okay. So there's good spots for that too, but a more vulnerable one, like if it's in a vulnerable state, finding someone, your significant other, that's one of the reasons why we love working with couples, with partners, with anything like that, is that you're dealing with that in your personal life. So I'm sure there's many different levels of discussion and emotions and feelings and communication, but just they can be right there to support you. And gosh, wouldn't you want your significant other or your best friend or anything like that just to be on that same level with you, to have those types of conversations, as opposed to downward spiral types of conversations? Then you're just uplifting each other. And so to me, that's the best way, is finding accountability. And so that's what we have right here also right now. So we can transition into Angel and your wonderful hand. We love you.
Yeah.
So, but like there's accountability here,
Mhm.
right? There's a nice nurturing environment. We're all elevating ourselves. We're all knowing that more is possible. And so normalize that in your life, as opposed to, I can never get over this thing. The day's always bad. The world always happens to me and not the other way around. Like you don't want to surround yourself with those people as much, because
Then you'll become them.
you'll become them.
So yeah, Angel, let's talk. And Morgan, I totally understand because I'm the same exact way.
Okay, so I almost forgot I had my hand up. And so you have answered a lot of the questions that I have, but I think I made a mistake this morning. I had all week had tried to get to the forgiveness exercise, and I was like, I've got to do it before the next one, because I wanted to do it. And that way, if I had questions about it, I could ask. And I got to be
Good for
real,
you.
I feel like shit right now. I mean, there's no other way to say it. I feel really bad right now.
Mhm.
And I know you said that's like a good sign, but how do you get rid of this?
Yeah.
And just to give you some context, I'm not really an emotional person at all. And I am one of those people who bury everything. I'm not a crier. I'm not as empathetic with other people either as I should be. Because to me, it's like put on your big girl panties and move on. That's the way I've rolled through life. And I think this exercise just shook me up a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. It does that. Thank you for sharing. How many of us would look at our favorite 3-year-old in the world, maybe a smaller version of us or our daughter, and say, put your big girl panties on and move on already?
No.
Yeah, probably no one. But yet we talk to ourselves that way. And all we are big little kids. And we still have that little kid inside of us. And that little kid inside of us wants to feel their emotions because they have very big emotions for that very little body that they have. And that energy is a lot to hold on to. So I have a suspicion that growing up, you were expected to just hold it together and show up and perform and achieve even, and just keep pushing forward. And I just want to reassure you that you don't have to get rid of anything. You don't have to get rid of your feelings. You don't have to get over your feelings. Instead, we get to acknowledge them, and it's okay to have them. We're emotional creatures. It's what makes us human. We have a higher brain to feel these emotions, to experience these emotions. And so we're the only species that can do this. And we're the only species that can dwell on them as well. And so with the forgiveness exercise, the reason that you feel that dip in energy is because of a couple of things. One, you moved a lot of energy. I mean, going through 20 scenarios is a lot. And so be proud of yourself. And yeah, I can feel the emotion coming up. So please, I encourage it. And thank you for being vulnerable. Coming up with 20 things to forgive is a lot at once, especially when a lot of us have trouble forgiving one thing at a time. And we hold grudges for one thing at a time. And so sitting down and us challenging you guys to do 20 and then to kind of reflect on them for like 2 seconds and then say that prayer, you're releasing a lot of dormant, sticky energy in the body. And so now that energy, it's like when you clean a room, you're pulling everything off the shelves. You need to wipe them down. It's a mess right now. And so now it's like, okay, how do I want to put things back? And so you have a choice now moving forward. How do I want to put things back? Do I just want to forget that I ever had this stuff and throw it in the closet? Meaning, do I just want to forget these emotions and just get over them? Or do I want to like remember like, oh my gosh, yeah, I forgot that I had this. I love this thing so much when I got it. I'm going to put it here. And so that is you just, okay, I'm feeling sad right now. So I'm just going to let myself feel sad for a moment. There doesn't need to be a reason why I feel sad. I just know that I moved a lot of energy and I brought a lot of stuff up that I probably haven't thought about in a while. And so now that that's all up at front and center for me to experience, it's here. And my body's like, okay, I feel safe enough now that I can start releasing this. So I would encourage you to just be with yourself. And if I ask you this question, what's the first thing that comes to mind? Like, what does your body need right now?
I don't know.
If you did know what your body needed, or if you did know what you needed, what would that be?
I think it would be just to be okay with feeling this, really.
So don't try to force it away. Just be okay with feeling it.
Perfect.
You answered yourself. That's beautiful. Yeah. So just remind yourself, it's okay. It's okay that this is here. It's okay that I'm feeling this, because I guarantee once you're over this hill, you're going to feel a hell of a lot lighter, with a lot more clarity, because you won't have the energy of these 20 scenarios bogging you down anymore.
Okay.
So it really is, it's just being okay with it being there. And it's not anything bad or wrong. It's just a thing. It's just an emotion.
Acceptance. We just have to accept each other, right? Accept that the world isn't perfect, that everyone around us isn't perfect. Then, oh my God, we are far from perfect at the end of the day. So when I say that I put off this exercise that she reminded me every day to do, I put it off for 3 days. It felt like a week. It was a lot. And then going through it, yeah, I felt like Morgan here too, like, all right, there could be 200 things. I'm not going to have enough paper for all the things that I'm going to be writing down that I want to acknowledge, but you'll find that it is finite. It ends up stopping, and you just ask yourself, am I complete at this point? If you are, you are. If you're not, keep going. And it's okay. everything is totally okay. If you have 200, then you have 200. That's just a whole lot of the laundry that we're talking about. And it's beautiful.
And sometimes forgiveness is a really scary thing
Of
because
course
we
it
weren't
is.
really.
How many ways is it scary, right?
And so it does. It brings these vulnerable parts of you front and center for yourself to see. And we are our own worst critics. So sometimes to be vulnerable with ourselves is the hardest thing that we can do.
Oh my gosh, I have never loved my ex-wife more than after that exercise. And it might not have been right afterwards, but I got into a more neutral state right afterwards. And then my subconscious can work from there. So I even found myself at this this Raise Fest, this conference that I went to, talking about if it wasn't for her and that whole situation, I never would have found real estate. I never would have found real estate investing specifically. Yeah, the realtor, I started to go down that path, but I wouldn't have found real estate investing if it wasn't for that, because I had to. And so every time I think about that now, it reframes my thoughts. And I am so eternally grateful that I was married to her. All those negative things that have happened and that I've associated with her because of her, they wash away, because I wouldn't be here right now. I wouldn't have been in this state to find this lovely lady. Like, it's just, there's so much gratitude that can happen on the other side of it, but just know that it doesn't all have to come right away. So relax from that need that it's going to be perfectly rosy and sunny right afterwards. No, in fact, you're probably going to feel a little bit worse. Well, I know you're going to feel worse when you're doing it. I know that because I've done it. And the whole point is to really feel those instances. So if you're doing it properly, you're going to be feeling worse, but you're moving that energy. You're saying, I'm sorry. Thank you. I love you. I forgive you. And it helps move all of those things. And, I even had to say that to myself in almost every situation. And when I just recently did that again, I just did that exercise again in this last week, since we were asking you to do that. I'm like, oh, it's been long enough. Let me do this. Absolutely. Because we practice what we preach here. And it was another wonderful energy shift that ended up happening. And I found this time, the majority of things that I wrote on my paper were me. The way I feel because of things, the way that I'm showing up, the way that I think that I can't do something, or there's just resistance. It's like, just talk to myself and be like, it's okay. But things that I have done in the past. So as opposed to the first time I went through, it was more what happened to me in the world. That's that mindset of, this is what happened to me. Well, now it's just more, what am I doing? And how can I be better? And just forgive myself. It's okay. You're not perfect. That's all right. But just get to that good neutral state. And then it's like, oh, neutral is a million times better than the shittiness I was just feeling. So, to me, that is, I don't know who said it up here, but The Gap versus the Gain. Courtney, yeah, wonderful book. If you guys haven't read that, that's on some people's top 10 books, along with Who Not How, is The Gap versus the Gain. It's that shift of looking at what you have accomplished, like what you are already have done in your past, those benefits versus where you're going. We sometimes don't. We're only focused on where we're going and what we have not achieved yet. It's like, oh, it's so big where I want to be, but look back and know what you have achieved. That's why, how many ways can you have that filled up? Like, I've got an achievement journal on my phone now that I write things on. We've got a little jar that we fill up with our achievements for the year. Like, wonderful things. Gap versus the gain. But yeah, don't worry. Neutral.
Angel, so just to that point, so acknowledge yourself for doing that exercise, because a lot of people won't even do it. Acknowledge yourself for being vulnerable around doing that exercise. Acknowledge yourself for actually completing the exercise, because some people will start and be like, fuck this. Acknowledge yourself for being vulnerable and sharing your experience with the exercise, because I'm sure other people who haven't done it or have considered doing it or have done it may have a similar experience or a question. So you are essentially helping others by sharing this, and you're acknowledging your feelings. We all saw you let some of your feelings be expressed. And that's what your big lesson was through this. Like what your body needed was to just be okay with that experience. So this was healing all around. And now you are in more energetic alignment with your true authentic self, because all that density has finally gotten an opportunity to be released and to just kind of be put out there. So now it's the question is, what do I want to bring in to my body? What do I want to feel more of? And so that's why I'm encouraging you to just acknowledge yourself for everything that you've done up until this point, and just feel how proud you can feel for yourself, how grateful you are that you didn't quit, and that you shared, and that you asked a question, and that you allowed yourself to be vulnerable, and
that
just
was really
feel that
hard.
opening. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
did it.
It's so beautiful. Oh my gosh.
And
I
you did
love you
it.
for
If
that.
you can do hard
That's
things
amazing.
here, you can do hard things in other areas of life. And so it's really just about like focusing on what you are moving towards and what you want to bring more into your life, while still accepting the experience that you're having, knowing that it's perfectly okay. There's no right or wrong, good or bad here. It's just an experience. And that we always have a choice as to how we choose to perceive the experience that our body is having, and how we get to engage with that experience, and then how we get to take that lesson and or that experience and that lesson from that experience and move forward. Right. And this is how we become more energetically aligned with our true authentic self. And our true authentic self is that energy of just unconditional love. It is that little kid that walks up to strangers on the playground and invites them to play with their toys. And so it's just about just giving ourselves some grace and gratitude, and really like thankful for yourself. And Rhiannon, I'm so happy. Thank you for sharing that. And the forgiveness challenge that Zach was talking about, it will be in the email from, actually, there will be a replay sent out this week of last week, a link, I believe, because I always link the
we always
previous week's
include one
video.
from the last week. So just so you know, we sent this out last week because we were heading towards a conference. So we recorded one and the day before and we sent it out. But it's that forgiveness exercise I've talked about in some of the last ones that has changed my life. I mean, real quickly, once I actually got around to doing it, an hour later, changed my life. So so look for that. We'll play the replay. We'll include that in the replay this week. We'll include last week's replay.
Mhm.
And we are working to put some of these online as well, so that you can just see us, and we can share those things with you guys if you want to go back.
They're on my YouTube.
Okay,
I
so
send
they're
out
on
a YouTube link every week.
a YouTube. So anyway, we're including more and more because we get it that people are busy, that this is new, that new people are coming in. Rihanna, I love it. My gosh, we're dropping bombs every week, just trying to change people's lives. And it's a process. It's a process, guys. We love doing this. We love giving out to the world.
Shane, you'll get all of that in the email right after this. Sometime today, we'll send out the replay to this, and then the other links will be included in that email.
Yeah. So she has some stuff on her energetic alignment side of it, that her whole industry, she has, her whole Instagram, Facebook, YouTube things. And then I'm starting a new, lots of different things, but to incorporate this and just make our whole lives comprehensively better, our body, mind, and bank account at the end of the day.
Yeah. And Jenny, the answer to your question is, and I know it's almost noon, but if someone else has a question, I'll stay on if someone else has a question. But Jenny, the answer to that is sound, breath, and movement. So more reason to exercise. Movement. Yeah.
Stacking variables.
Even if you're not going to the gym, like there's so much movement you can do just at home, just by bouncing up and down or shaking. Like shaking is a wonderful way to move energy. And when we start talking about the energy centers of the body, which is where I really get going on all this stuff, the energy centers of the body, they correspond to nerve bundles in the body. But when we start talking about energy centers, I'll give you different ways that you can move the energy out of different energy centers as well. And it's interesting why some of the ways how we can move energy are kind of like taboo, like twerking is a great one. I'm not going to encourage everybody to twerk. If you want to, more reason.
I'll encourage everyone to twerk. Why not? Oh, I don't know. All right. Tell me other guys here. You've never just tried twerking when nobody's looking. Like, come on. No? Okay, maybe that's just me. We'll try it then. Gosh. You're
We'll
just
try
like, I don't know how the heck
twerking
they do that. Bonk, 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 bonk. You know?
I've gotten Zach to twerk with me.
It's just like it's let loose. It's fun. You know, we've got slippery hardwood floors that are here. We just slide around the house a lot
In
of
our
time
socks.
in our socks, and it's just like fun movement. That's why I like to embrace being a kid. Yeah, TMI. Well, that's what this is about, man. Hey, we are completely vulnerable. We are unabolishedly who we are, and you know that's why. Accept everything about who you are. You know, get into a state of neutrality and be curious. Be curious for new things because we're introducing a whole bunch of new things. And so if you can embody that curiosity, well, then that's yourself opening up to that energy and you might let that in. And that's not as closed off. Like, you hear those people like, I've been doing the same thing for 20 years. You know, why am I going to change now? Holy smokes. You want to, right? If you want to have a different outcome in your life, you need to have a change that's happening
evolve.
within you to evolve with
Yeah.
that.
One thing that I want to say, Ginny, you said, I'll remind myself often of what you said, a few moments, paying attention to your energy can move mountains. Yes. Just like speaking to what the experience is can start to move the energy. And then if you want to go a step further, you can ask, once you can ask about the emotion. And then once you get in contact with the emotion, how does this emotion want to be experienced? We'll go deeper into this on another call where we'll talk all about the emotional body, but you can ask, how does this emotion actually want to be experienced? And it might be, I just want to sit here and cry. And I've told Zach before, I have, like Morgan said, how you have some density. My life's journey has been releasing anger and grief from my body because of, I don't know, some stuff that happened when I was a kid that I just like blacked out from. But when I found this work, I started becoming very friendly with anger releases, and I love anger releases. And so my office is right on top of Zach's. And so I texted him one day and I'm like, hey, don't worry, I'm just going to do an anger release up here. And I'm upstairs because I'm like, how does this energy want to be expressed? Because I didn't have a reason to be angry. I was just kind of feeling stuck. I'm just like, God, I just feel stuck. Like I don't have motivation to really do anything. And I was getting frustrated, and that frustration was turning into anger. And I'm like, okay, clearly there's something here. And so I'm like, all right, how does this want to be experienced? And I have a couple pillows upstairs. So I'm just screaming in my pillows. I have a Reiki massage bed. I'm punching the bed. I saged it afterwards. I'm rolling around on my floor. I'm punching the floor. I'm stomping. I'm shaking.
I'm thinking, how much drywall am I going to have to repair up there? Like, what in the heck is going on? Maybe I should leave.
And
then things
and
like,
I
is that
just-
directed to me? Like what's
Yeah.
going, like all the normal thoughts that we're thinking in the
but
world.
it wasn't directed at anything. And that's the thing though. It's just with emotions, and emotions are the make it or break it of manifestation. So we'll talk about this more when we go more into manifestation over the next 4-ish weeks, but emotions are the make it or break it of manifestation. And so when I'm feeling this emotion, I'm not attaching stories to it. I don't need to know where it's from. I don't need to know why it's here. I don't need to know like what caused it. I just need to know that it's in my body and my body doesn't want it there anymore. It's ready to release it. So in order to honor that process, I just started experiencing it. And then I would check in with myself. I'm okay, how do I feel right now? Slowing down my heart rate with my breath. And if I would feel a little bit more there, and Morgan, this might be a good exercise for you to do, is just to start experiencing it and just trust that like it's okay. You feel safe, and start small. Start with a couple stomps, maybe shaking your head, shaking your arms, doing weird movements, because think of the movements that are accepted today. It's like very linear movements where we don't want to take up too much space. You want to stand up straight, but you don't want to flail your arms around. You don't want to be too big. You don't want to be too erratic. And it's those movements that move the most energy. So it's just about like connecting with this. And Zach didn't do anything. He stayed in his office like a good fiance. And then afterwards, he's like, are you okay? I'm like, yeah, I feel great. I'm like, thanks. Thanks for that. He's like, I was wondering like what was
Are you
going on
sure?
a couple times.
Are you sure? Because it didn't sound like great, but it's new to me, and everyone expresses their emotions differently. People process them. And so she's a little more evolved in that she's just like, let me try this. This is what my body is feeling right now. So
Mhm.
yeah, so completely different, interesting thing. But patience, I had lots of patience, and I'm like, she told me she's doing something in my mind. She said something, but I'm just like, something's happening. I'm like, ooh, wondering what's going to go on. I'm like, and then I'm like, holy shit. It was,
Yeah.
I didn't expect that. So no, I was going
That's
through my
been
own.
like years of really practicing anger releases and getting comfortable with my body moving in erratic ways and just the chaos of the emotion, because a lot of us we feel emotions, and anger is a really powerful emotion, and we feel it and we just say things like, oh, I can't do this right now, when really if you let the anger speak, if you let the anger move through you, how would you speak? How would you move? That's what I encourage people to do. And that's what I just yell profanities into a pillow, really. And I'm just like screaming my head off, and I'm not judging myself, because this is the emotion. It's the emotional energy that's moving through me. It's the emotion that's talking. It's the emotion that wants to move and express because it wasn't given a chance to at some point in my life. And that's where a lot of us get caught up, as we try to monitor how our emotional expression is, mostly because we do emotional releases in conversation with those that we love. That would be an unhealthy way to express your anger, is at somebody. But when it's just you and your emotions, you can go buck wild and you can just do whatever you need to do that feels safe within the capacity of your body. And you feel 1,000 times better afterwards. You have new clarity. You have ideas that come in. You have a new calmness about you. You have an openness, an acceptance. And it's really amazing what can be on the other side of of like a really proper emotional expression. I know I said I was going to talk about this, so I'm going to stop right there because we will go deeper into this. And Jenny, let's chat. And then I know we're late, so if you guys got to hop off, you got to hop off. But we'll do Jenny's question and then, or comment, and then hop off.
Yeah, it was kind of more of a comment, just reaffirming what you're saying. It's funny because I repressed a lot of things growing up, but I had a good childhood and all. It's just there was a lot of Black things too. And I moved into screaming in the car is like awesome.
Yeah.
but it's funny because I have shared that I did my first raise here recently and whatnot. And I was having so many technology challenges that day. I was so mad and uptight, and I screamed outwardly loud. And right after that, I got a phone call from the first donor, the first people that funded. And it was like, oh, hello. You know, like, I was able to switch right away, but it's like, man, maybe I need to get mad every time.
Yeah. I mean, it's just
The
that
other thing I
emotional
was going
charge.
to add to that was also, to keep it quick here, I've also been dealing with a lot of medical issues in my family and whatnot. And one of those things that you hear often when you go into nursing homes and whatnot is that guttural
Mhm.
moan.
Mhm.
And I caught myself just in the last month kind of doing that. And it's really kind of therapeutic.
Yes.
It's amazing.
Yes.
It's like a howl almost. It's like,
Yes.
or I don't know. So if that works for anybody, you might want to play
Yes.
with it.
Yes. And that's sound. It's one of the ways that we naturally move energy. And because if we can get that guttural, like, ooh, or just like that moan or that yell, then we can move energy. If you can push it down, like using your intention, you can say like, okay, a lot of us, sometimes we scream from our throat. Sometimes we scream from our chest. Sometimes we like groan or moan from our gut. So you're essentially moving energy from that energy center up. And then what happens is you're clearing all of that gunk that's ready to be released at that time.
Feels that way too.
So sound is really powerful way. I mean, they're all powerful ways to move energy, but
It makes me think about the Indians and some of the ancients, you know, they really had something.
They did those dances.
Yeah.
They made different noises. Different noises correspond to different energy centers. They breathe very deeply, like, moving energy, energizing their bodies. And yeah, it really is like these techniques are old as time. It's just they've gotten lost in translation. And we are so conditioned to be in our little corporate concrete box that the more disconnected we are from nature and our primal ways, the more our energy body suffers. And then everything that happens on the energetic level happens on the physical level eventually. So if we're hoarding energy and repressing energy, if we're not communicating what we need to, we're not expressing our energy through movement, through sound, through breath, our body's going to express it eventually. And that shows up through symptoms and syndromes and dis-ease and disorder in the body. And so it's all backed by science because everything is vibrating at a different level. Remember, our cells have electromagnetic receptors more than they have chemical receptors. So our emotions are electromagnetic. Our thoughts are electromagnetic. When we're not moving that energy, it becomes stagnant and it becomes like gunk. I see it as just like this gunky goo in the energy body. And that shows up. Gunky goo probably is going to show up as like a very healthy, happy, vibrant person. And so it's just move that energy, give yourself permission to just yell in your car when you're driving down the road, or just like punch the air a couple times, shake it out, shake your legs out. If it feels weird, just start small with your wrists and your neck, and just like kind of move a little bit. And really move your hips, move your legs. That's where we hold a lot of our energy, is in those lower energy centers. And gosh, I just love this stuff. But all right.
So no, I want to, yeah, thank you, Jenny. We love you. We love you, Angel, Jenny, and everyone for sharing, participating. We want to give you complete freedom right now for this whole week and to the future. Everyone here, you've got complete freedom to just do whatever your body wants to do whatever your emotions want to do, feel and lean into them, okay? Because society might say that that is weird. Your own little voice, because of society, might say that is weird. Yeah. Stop that. You've got permission now. And in fact, we're going to encourage it. So just feel into all of your emotions and do whatever.
See what
float
comes
around
in a way that feels safe. So if you just feel safe starting small, start small, but just start connecting, start bridging that gap between your mind and your body, because this will make consciously manifesting your desires a hell of a lot easier
and
when you're connected to your body.
You'll do it by yourself, probably. Like, I'm thinking how I started. I was like in a closed room where nobody can see, all by myself, because I'm conditioning my own mind to be comfortable with it. But then that's why I say get someone else and elevate your minds together, because then you could both be goofy and do these things together. Or it ends up being socially acceptable because you already have someone that's right there in your real life you can touch that is socially accepting that. Just like the anger release right above me, it is now socially acceptable.
Yes.
For that to happen.
I made it socially acceptable, and I always encourage people to do it. And sometimes you just have to give yourself permission. So we're giving you guys permission to do this for yourself. And one thing that I will say is that I like to listen to music when I do this stuff, and I'll listen to Halsey as an artist, and she has like some angry songs. So if you're like feeling some heavier stuff, you can move that. But just some music that really helps you just like get into the mood of feeling it. And then I have like some softer songs that I'll play afterwards when I'm just kind of coming back. I'm just connecting with my body. I'm feeling that release of energy, feeling that openness in my body. And then, like I encouraged Angel, what's the energy you want to bring into your life? Then I just set that intention of, okay, this is what I want to focus on now. I want to focus on peace or joy or gratitude for the rest of the day, and just focus on bringing more of that in.
After
all of those emotions are in alignment with your goals. So the more you can focus on them, the more you're becoming an energetic match to your goals without actually having to take any action yet. Okay.
Yeah, clear.
Yeah.
Halsey, that's good. I like dubstep. Play me some dubstep, and that
really
gets me in the mood.
Yeah. I do like dubstep too.
I can run. It's a little, and then sometimes I'm listening. I'm like, is this too angry for me right now? No, it pumps me up. It's getting me good. That's what my body wants right now. So just accept what your body wants, and feel and learn and play with all of that. You got to play to figure out what you like, what you don't like, and you'll naturally tease out what's perfect for you.
Yeah, and just see what happens.
Awesome.
Okay.
Love it.
Yeah, thank you guys. I know we ran over, so thanks for hanging out for a while, and we will see you all next Thursday.
Can't wait.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
everyone. Have a wonderful week.
You too.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.